All right, coaches, I'm here today with a couple of the pride of the Greater Spokane League here with Coach Sherman from Mount Spokane and Coach Munhall from Gonzaga Prep. And happy to have both these guys on here. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I can say, guys, get your pens and notes ready because I've known these guys since about 2013 when they were kind of right in the middle of getting their programs up and running. And they've turned both their programs into two of the top-notch programs in the entire state of Washington. So looking forward to talking to these guys and sharing some wisdom with everybody. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to start with Coach Sherman here. We're talking outfielders. So my question for you, Coach, is describe a typical day for your outfielders. What kind of daily routines and drills are important for them?
Yeah, so probably like most programs, we have a set of drills that we call our dailies for each position specifically. So for our outfielders, there's a list of 6 that we run through. Early in the year, we break them down and maybe only do a couple, and then we build up to all 6 on a daily basis. And we just try to run those guys through. We usually give about 15 minutes of individual specific position time to try to accomplish these dailies. And then we build off that where we get into some specific drills that might incorporate these dailies. So a lot of our daily approach is footwork more than it is actually like a ball off a bat. So we kind of have a pre-pitch routine that we want our outfielders to go through. And then we work into the progression of 4 fly ball catching footwork drills within the dailies. And then we have 1 ground ball. So that completes our 6. So our first one's just kind of a pre-pitch. What are you doing pre-pitch? What's that dry aspect of pre-pitch look like? And then we jump into the 4 fly ball ones. And so our 4 fly ball daily footwork drills, we work first drop step. What does that look like? Drop step, get behind the ball. And we do that from a dry run, and we have a coach throwing a ball. And then so we go each direction on that drop step and go. And then we have a drops that we kind of build off each one. So then our next one is drop step, and then we have the ball thrown, catch it on the run. What does that look like? Catch the ball on the run, and then either reverse pivot or just plant and go, depending on if you're arm side or glove side. And then we have drop steps. We build off it. So drop step, catch it on the run, but you're running one direction. It's that classic ball where you think you got to beat on it, and you realize that it's actually kind of the other direction. And so what does that turn of the body, head turn look like? I think it's an under-practiced skill. And so we do what we call head turn. So you're running arm side, you realize ball's glove side. And so you turn inside so that your head stays on the ball the whole time rather than turning backside where your eyes lose sight of the ball for a second. So we practice that as one of our progressions. So we just call it head turn. So we drop step, run one way, but we throw the ball the other way. Guys turn their heads and go get it that way. And then our 4th fly ball drill is a drop step, then sprint to a spot. It's that classic ball that is smashed. Your only hope is to sprint and go get it, hope you get there. So literally drop step, turn and run without seeing the ball for 3 or 4 steps. Try to gain as much ground as you can at those first few. And then we throw the ball, hopefully on a run. And then from there, we incorporate the idea that if you catch it on the run, what do you do with your footwork from the previous drills? If you can get behind it because you got great steps and you got behind it, then what do you do getting behind it and coming through the ball? So we try to incorporate those first footwork drills into that sprint to a spot drill. And then our final one is just ground ball dry runs. What do you do with your footwork on a ground ball to come up throwing? And then usually we'll build off of that. After you do the dry, we'll throw it to a sock net or to a wheel barrel or something different just to mix it up. But those are our dailies for our outfielders.
Awesome. Good stuff. Coach Munhall, how about you?
We're actually fairly similar. We like to mix in 30 to 40 minutes of defense fairly regularly. Our first 10 minutes we call them EDD, so our everyday drills, and the guys are kind of on their own while we watch. We start with basics. They're about 40 or 50 feet apart. Easy fly ball, guys got to get behind it, glove position, throwing arm side, momentum through the baseball, catching it up high. Then they get back and they work their way through ground balls. They change between right shoulder, left shoulder, over the head. And then kind of like Coach Sherm said, same idea, start over your right shoulder, oh crap, bad read. Got to switch with a head flip to get to the other side. So they work through that in about 10 minutes and they get their heart rate up, and then whether it's our infielders, catchers, outfielders, everybody flip-flops, and then they get into their coach work. And then we really like to go balls off the bat after that. So whether it's normal fly balls, whether it's smashed ground balls that are do or dies, whether it's find a hop you can keep in front of you. We work through those. We also do a lot of crisscross outfield drills where we have multiple lines all hit in the middle, so they have to communicate. And whether we start them in and they go back, whether we start them back and they come in, or whether we go regular, or whether we mix in the sun. We overemphasize communication, but we like to put multiple guys on one fly ball at the same time, so they have to get used to that stuff. Same variations though, very similar with the footwork, with drop step, with which shoulder are you turning to. And we also mix in throwing as well, whether we put an L screen out, and, somewhere at 100 feet, they got to try to hit the L screen as they're behind it. But that's a lot of what we do, and it sounds very similar. I imagine most people are probably fairly similar. Outfield's a hard one to get very creative with.
That's why I asked you two guys. You're the best. No, that's good stuff. I like that you incorporate communication in there as well. I think especially, with kids playing on multiple teams at times and stuff like that, communication is one of the hardest things for me, is to keep that consistent and get those guys comfortable talking to each other. It's good stuff.
Just to add on that, I think you guys would both agree, outfield fundies are probably one of the least coached aspects of the game. And I think you can really make your money with good outfield play, save a lot of runs that way. And I think a lot of coaches overlook it, and they just throw guys in the outfield and hit them a fly ball with zero instruction of what to do with it. It's kind of the old adage of throw the balls out and just go catch it and hope they're right and they find a good athlete that can do it. But
yeah, I think outfield's one of the easiest places to do that and let your guard down a little bit with teaching the fundamentals. Totally agree.
Well, with our indoor propensity of being indoors, you can always do outfield footwork. You may not be able to hit a fly ball, but
yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right, I forgot I had a little background here for you guys.
Oh, nice. Got it figured out.
There it is. Bingo. Is that a Vista?
Looks
Classic.
like it.
All right. There you go. Right on. All right. Next one. Describe 2 drills. First, your favorite team offense, and then second, your favorite team defense. And like we were talking about before we were recording, these might be a little bit interchangeable, and that's okay. And Coach Munhall, we'll go ahead and start with you on this one.
I'm going to give you one of each. We have a very interesting dynamic at Prep. We have one field and 3, maybe 4 teams. It's quite a challenge to be creative. At a minimum, we always have JV and varsity together.
Okay.
So one thing, and often, a freshman game will be at 4:30, which means we have 45 minutes to be on the field, and that's our day before we got to hit the cages or go below and do something. So one thing we love pressure. I love game speed stuff. I love pressure. We did the old 21 outs back in the days where we just hit it. We do everything with runners. But honestly, my favorite drill now has become timed 21 outs. And whether it's varsity infield, JV outfield, or whether it's JV versus varsity, you pick, but I give them 10 minutes. Runners are live. And then I take their top 2 scores. So we play for something. If you get a 9 and you get a 12, you're in a pretty good spot at 21. JV, if we play JV versus varsity, I give them a 4-point cushion. So kind of a 4-point advantage, but just something about runners. And honestly, the panic of you got 10 minutes to be as good as you can and 1 or 2 mistakes really messes things up. It's been a pretty regular thing for us. I like to really make the runners go. I like them to push it and get thrown out once in a while, taking an extra base.
Mm-hmm.
It enhances cuts. It enhances communication. It enhances knowing where we're going to go with the baseball, or are we going to cut 2, or are we going to cut 3, or are we going to cut 4, are we going to redirect? But I really don't do anything anymore without runners, and that's my biggest thing. So I can just hit it, and we can try to remember where runners are, but it became a disaster. So time 21 outs, even just 10 minutes, has been very, very productive. Guys are exhausted, but calling out that number, hey, here's your 2, you got to beat this. That part's worked really, really well.
That's awesome.
You want me to run with the offense too, or you want Sherm to do defense?
Yeah, go ahead and do your offense, and then we'll switch over.
All right, offensively, this was something we did at Gonzaga when I was there, and granted, that's a long time ago now, but I know they do it all the time. I just love, like I said, I love competition. So we always break into 3 teams, and we have 3 team scrimmages going on. We have our defense, we have our offense, and we have a group that's in the cages, or we're working multiple groups on defense and 1 on offense. Mine is yes, it's an offensive-minded drill, but it's also a defensive-minded drill. And you can draw it up however you want. My favorite one, I think, is it's our hit and run situation. And everything's point scoring graded. I have a manager that runs everything, and the guys are always itching and want to know how their team's doing, and I don't tell them because they're playing for diamonds at the end, and they're pissed when they lose by just a couple. But we draw it up this way. We say hit and run for the hitter. Runner on first, you're playing it normal. Aggressive secondary, 1 out. Runner on third, you're full green. You're scoring on any ground ball. You got to play everything clean. Anything with height, you're back. So then from there, it's broken down into our scoring system where we say, offensively, if you don't swing, you lose 2 points. Kill us. It's hit and run. You got to do what you do. Offensively, pop up in the air. It's a hit and run. Kills you. You lose a point. Bad base running. Somebody doesn't tag. Somebody's going and doing what they're not supposed to. Anything they do that's silly, not aggressive, but silly, and puts their team in a bad spot to -5, which absolutely kills their team. And then really the only thing they can do positive is put the ball in play. Line drive or ground ball, anything lower, and you get a point. So it's tough to actually gain points. I mean, you should put it on the ground, but there's plenty of, we locked up, we didn't swing, something went wrong, I popped up, it was a tough pitch. But it really keeps things moving. And then on the other side, defense is always scoring. You get 5 points for any double play, even though it pisses off the offense because their whole goal is to hit it hard on the ground and they might lose points. It encourages hustle. It really puts pressure on your defense and your corners and your middle. And then they lose points for errors. They lose 2 points for an error. But it's quick and everybody hits twice. I divide JV and varsity into 3 groups. And we do a lot of variations, whether it's runners on second and third score them. You get a point for every guy you score, whether it's 2-strike drill. We do a lot of that with a lot of running, and that kind of parlays into your next question about base running. We work hard on, if you go hard in practice, you don't have extra conditioning, but I do like to put consequences, and I like to teach them that losing sucks in practice. So we usually play for something. Sometimes they're exceptional and the effort's really good, and we say, good, you're washed. Nobody's going to pay, but normally somebody pays up and somebody's not very happy, but normally they played themselves into that spot.
I love it. That's awesome. I love the point emphasis, and I bet that's pretty competitive when you guys get going on that. That's pretty cool stuff right there. How much time do you usually spend on that drill in practice?
It's a little longer one. I usually run 3 different versions of it. So when we do a scrimmage day or situational scrimmage day, it's usually an hour and a half. I mean, we might mix in our defense at the beginning, but it's going to be more like 3:30 to 5. We're spending the day on a situational scrimmage, and then we do that once or twice a week.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, Coach Sherman, favorite drills?
All right, I swear to you, Coach Munhall and I did not chat beforehand, but you're going to laugh when you hear the similarities in our choices. So, and maybe that just speaks to our similarities as individuals as well as our competitive nature. But defensively, exact same choice. Time 21 outs. So I got away from the old just count your outs. Time 21 outs. My little spin on that is we actually have the players hit them. I don't know if you said that, Brian, or not. But we throw a short toss version of it, and we have the players hit it. So it gives a little bit of a reaction off a bat that might be more normal than a fungo, and it allows the players to get a few swings in during that drill. So we just add the hitting component of it with a coach pitching. The only negative I will say there is that we do end up with a fair amount of balls off the screen that you have to guess at what that situation would have brought for a score. But I do like the timed aspect of it, just like you said, where rather than we're sitting there all day, reset at 0, reset at 0, reset at 0, trying to get to that 21, it becomes this like just bored drill. There's competitiveness. I got 10 minutes or I got 12 minutes to get as many consecutive outs as I can. I love that aspect of it. And if we do make an error, we reset back to 0 and go from there. So same drill, same reasons. Love it. Love the idea of timed. And just competing for a number rather than just always getting to 21 and calling it done. I remember 15 years ago when I'd run 21 outs, it would take 40 minutes sometimes, right?
Yeah. Or when do you stop?
When do you stop? Like, we made another error. We're back to 0. Do we want to do it again? So, and then, but then you feel like you're when you cave and you give in, right, you feel like, well, we didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish. So at least with timed, we're always, racing against the mark. Like, hey, last week we got 15. Can we get 17 today? Can we get 21? I like that. You're competing against yourself. It feels like, like a golfer. I can always go golf and compete against myself. I don't need a certain number to get to or whatever. So same drill. Love it.
That's great.
Offensively, same drill. Maybe a variation on it. We call it the hit and run scrimmage. So we split into 3 teams. I kid you not, wrote down the same stuff. Split into 3 teams. We time it. We probably don't go as long as you. It sounds like we'll go like 15 minutes a team and call it good. And we don't give a set number of at-bats. So the concept is that you can get through it. And then the variation that we have is that we're playing with only our varsity team. So I will make 3 teams of 5 usually. And so the 2 teams of 5 that aren't hitting, they combine to play defense together. So there's our defense. The other team of 5 is hitting. Or sometimes if I want to bring up 3 JV guys because I want to give them a look, I'll do 4 teams of 5 and throw 1 team in the cages and get the rotation going that way. But there's always 2 teams on defense to create the defense. So with 10, sometimes you rotate 1 guy in and out, or you might have a pitcher only or whatever. But you make 4 teams of 5 or 3 teams of 5. And then our little variations on it is ours is all offensive. So yes, it works defensive, but we don't score anything there. We score all offensive. And so here's how we go. We put, like in a group of 5, it's fast paced. Like you said, I love that. We'll put 2 guys at first or 3 guys at first and 2 guys at the dish. So you split up that way because you're one team, right? Mm-hmm. So you're at first base, coach is throwing, it's a hit and run. You get a point if you execute the hit and run, which means you successfully move the runner to second base. Ground ball out, you got the guy, it was a right side ground ball, you moved him up. Or if you singled the right or whatever, you moved him up. You get a bonus point if you got him to third base on the hit and run to try to encourage the base runner to go first to third. Because high school kids get so tentative at times. So we want to, you're no penalty if you get thrown out at third, but if you can get to third on that hit and run play, bonus point. Now here's where the variation comes in, and the piece that I love because I'm a bunt freak, right? There's no secrets there, money, so I can say that. So if we successfully execute the hit and run, but we don't advance to third, now we're first and second. We started with no outs is how we do it. So now we're first and second. The next batter automatic sack bunt. So we build in a sack bunt component. If he executes the sack bunt, you get a point. Now we're second and third with 1 out, and now the next hitter actually gets to swing away and drive in the run. If you drive in the run, you get a bonus point. So there's all these little extra points that we add to it. Anytime we drive in the run or anytime we get an out on the hit and run, we reset back to the hit and run. So we always go back to the hit and run and we start there. So we could go hit and run, ground ball to second, guys safe at second, we throw them out at first. No, you get a point, but we start over with hit and run again. So the runner at second goes back, we just start over. But if everyone's safe, now that's where you get the bonus out of it, right? You get the bunt, you get the score of the runner. It's great because you see teams, like you said, competing. They'll cut the run to try to not give up a run, second and third. They'll crash on a bunt defense because they know the bunt's coming, and I let them crash within reason, right? We don't slug or anything in this drill. But we just add those little variations to it to get some more points going. So we put a time on it. Most points after a certain amount of time is good. Did I freeze on you?
Awesome. No, you're good. Well, your video did, but I still hear you, so we're good.
There you go.
There you go. You're back. Lost your audio, though.
I hate that. It gets cut off, so I don't know where
there you go. No, you're good.
Add a few things to get more points going.
Yeah. No, I think we got like it. You didn't cut out. We got all that. That was great. That's awesome. I love how you kind of let it progress, too. Like if you get into that situation, because your kids are going to end up knowing, hey, coach is going to bunt in this situation, so be prepared and know that walking into it. I think that's great. It's a great way to practice.
There's nobody on my roster, first and second, nobody out that isn't available for a sack bunt. Like that's got to be available. Yeah, we might not do it, right? But it's got to be available. Yeah,
I love it. Good stuff, Coach. All right, let's wrap up here with base running. And again, I think base running is kind of like what we talked about with outfielders, where sometimes, we'll think, these guys are fast and athletic. We don't need to really coach up the fine points, but let's talk a little bit about how we do that. So describe what it looks like in your practice. And then I put in there, do you start with it? Do you finish with it? Do you condition with it? Coach talked about putting running in there as consequences to add a little bit more to competition, steal jumps, those. So wherever you guys want to go with base running stuff, Let's go ahead and do that. And Coach Sherman, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's, again, one of the lost coaching points in the sport. And I'm super excited to hear Money talk because I think they do it the best of anybody. But our emphasis with base running is we do it right after dynamic warm-up every day. So it's a natural progression for the body in our mind. We do our dynamic warm-up so our body gets loose. Then we do our base running for 10 minutes. Different drills each day, right? We might do read, ball, and dirt. We might be doing lefty leads, straight steals off a righty, off a lefty. We might do first and third work. We might do read, sack, bunts. What does that base running look like? Whatever that is, get your legs going and your heart rate going. And then we go play catch. So it seems like a natural body progression that way. So we always base run after we dynamic warm up. And then we just mix in different drills. But then, like Coach said, we try to build in base running whenever we can if it fits the drill. So obviously that offensive drill we talked about, offense, if you noticed, it was that offensive drill, that's my favorite, very little hitting. It's more about base running and bunting and doing the little things right. So we love that base running drill. And then probably my least favorite drill of all baseball is like just BP on the field because I feel like it's such a waste of time. So to try to minimize the low impact in terms of improvement, we put in base runners there. And we've gotten better at putting up a screen in front of the runners' spots, like at first base or second base, and having a coach stand there and direct traffic of what you want from the base runner. Because it's really easy to stand behind the turtle and watch your hitters and just say, by the way, that group, you're base running. Right. So the last few years, we put a coach on the bases to try to impact the validity of working on base running. But the most important part of our base running time is probably right after dynamic warm-up.
Nice. Coach Munhall, how about you?
I love that he said that. I saw some of that stuff at the convention, and there's times we mix it in where, it's part of your warm-up, and then from there your body's hot to get loose. It's that get loose to throw, not throw to get loose thing. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I'm not guilty of doing it that way all the time. We end up doing quite a bit of it at the end. My kind of progression, early on, we cover basics. Like day 3, every single kid, freshman, JV, varsity, stands in the dugout, hit the stopwatch. You got 12 seconds to get to your position at a dead sprint. Stop. You got 12 seconds to get off. The expectation is this is what it looks like. If it's not good, you might come out of a game if you can't hustle on and off the field. So we show them that. We walk them through what hard 90s look like. We walk them through what turns with a big aggressive turn looks like and where they should actually be, not 2 steps past first. And then from there, honestly, it becomes more of an as-need type of thing. But depending on what it is, I would bet we do ball and dirt and righty-lefty jumps at least 4 times a week. I mean, there's times, balls and dirt are my big passion, and it's something that we've taken a lot of pride in and are good at. One thing I've done that I love, you guys can all steal this, every kid is engaged. And I might have, even if I have my freshman with me that day, and that's busy, there might be 3 lines at first, 3 at second, 3 at third, and it's busy. There's 50 kids out there. But hopefully our read happens before the ball hits the dirt. But the expectation is that the softball field, the track, and everybody on campus hears us. Every single kid screams dirt before the ball hits the dirt. And that means that I have 50 kids, not just, the 3, 6, 9 that are actually up and going. Every kid's taking reps without actually being there. The idea is shuffle, and continue in rhythm. The older guys do a great job of showing the younger guys, but it is constant at first, second, third, and it's about a 10-minute deal, and it is stinking loud. And the one thing I do like is, when the parents start picking kids up and the younger kids are there, it's a really, really cool drill to see when every kid is dialed in, every kid is screaming dirt or nothing, and they go shuffle, stay neutral, go back, reset, do it again, but it gets everybody dialed in, it gets everybody engaged. The one thing they know from me is if it's good, we cut it off, we're done. If it's not good, we keep going. And they know that the crisper and the cleaner it is, the less reps we have to do. Just like when we do a great job in the games, we don't have to do it tomorrow. But when we're lazy on it and when we don't work on it, then we got to spend more time on it. So whether it's jumps off righties or lefties, which we certainly spend time on at least twice a week, first move lefty, or what are we doing, hit and run, are we going with the righties? The challenging difference between first and third being legal and illegal in Legion and school ball, and trying to make sure that they're comfortable. Because honestly, Alex will say the same thing. I bet there's 2 or 3 coaches every year in the league that call balk on a 31 move in high school, and we're like, no, sorry, that's legal.
Yeah, not
Make
here.
sure you know, but just trying to put it back in play, and so we do a lot. It's usually short. It's usually 15 minutes max. Balls and dirt is usually 10, but I try to build it in almost every single day. And then the rest, the turns, let's stretch it into a double or triple. All that happens in scrimmage situations. I don't do 90s, and I don't do turns in an organized manner anymore. At the end of practice, it's more jumps and reads on balls in the dirt. That's our focus time. The other ones, if we can't do that at the varsity level, we're in big trouble. But we revisit when we need to, and that usually happens early on, and it's introduced. And from there, after we've walked them through, where do I want you to stand? If you're on second base and there's no out or one out, and what's a 2-out lead at second look like, and what's a walking lead at third look like, instead of the panic, stomp, try to get a pitcher to balk. It's not going to work. You're going to get picked off. You're distracting your hitter. Like, when we work through all that stuff, then, it's like I tell them, the better you get at this game and the more you learn, the less time we have to do doing basics, and the more time we can spend on improved skills or next level skills, or things that we can challenge you with, because the varsity groups are pretty good. Those kids want to play in college, and man, if they don't know that stuff at the freshman level, which hopefully we've put in place, we're wasting a lot of time at practice, which makes us a lot less competitive.
Awesome. Good stuff. Coach Sherman, anything you want to follow up with on there?
No, they're the best in the business on that for sure. So it's good to get them talking about it. But
thank you.
Yeah, we all do similar things, but it's just, I think, like you said, a lot of people just don't focus on the finer points of this game. And I think that's where people make their money with wins and losses, is on those finer points. Those little things add up to big things. So
sure. Well, and I think you guys are a prime example of that, because you look at the success you guys have had, and you coach the little things, and that's huge. And I love, Coach Munhall, how you talk about having every single kid in your drill, whether they're one of the 3 to 6 that are actually doing the drill, or if they're in line, they're still yelling, because that's baseball, right? You're sitting in the dugout, and if a guy picks over, you want the guys in the dugout talking to them about a pit coming, and you're practicing those little pieces that create championship habits. It's awesome. Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. I think a lot of coaches are going to be pretty excited to listen to this one. Those were 2 good ones right there. So appreciate having you both.
Thanks
Absolutely.
for putting it together. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Good to see you guys.
Take care.